So a movie most people probably haven't even heard of, Arcadian, was released in theaters tonight. Kind of quietly released in theaters. This was dropped by Shudder. Sometimes they like to throw some of their films in theaters, which I quite like. It usually tells me that they have faith in it enough to throw it into theaters for a little bit before it drops on the streaming service. But there's usually like a 2 to 3 month turnaround once it's in theaters, so I would look for it in a couple months from now. But we always like to support horror while it's in theaters, especially more indie, lower budgeted stuff like this. This one stars Nic Cage, as well as the kid who plays Bill Denbrough from the It movies, the kid from Lost in Space who plays Will Robinson, and the girl from Saltburn, as well as The Little Bone Lodge, aka Last Exit, which is a Tubi original and one of the only good Tubi original films. Now, this is a post-apocalyptic movie in the vein of something along A Quiet Place or It Comes at Night. Very similar to those in a lot of ways. Nicolas Cage is a dad who has 2 sons, and they're trying to survive each night as the monsters only come out at night. I didn't know what this was going into it, right? This was new to me. I had seen the director's previous film with Nicolas Cage called The Trust with Elijah Wood. That didn't really give me a lot to go off of here. I was wondering how horror this was going to be. A lot. Probably mostly horror. It says action horror thriller, I think. And I would say like horror, drama, action.
Yes.
Is like the order I would put them in. The monsters in this are the most unique, the most what the fuck, crazy, wild, innovative, original monsters I've seen in a film in a while. That being said, I do think that people will find these, some people, I think the monsters are going to make or break the film for you. For sure. To me. Some people are going to find them goofy and silly, and they're going to think it's too over the top. They're not going to be able to take it seriously because they go for it. You know, some monster movies, they like to keep things in the shadows. And this film is dark. This film can be very dark at times. I was squinting at times. Because, it's at night and they're trying to give that realistic. And it's hard. That's that hard balance of like, you know, we kind of make fun of it sometimes when we're running through caves and we're like, that's a really well lit cave. But then it's like, if it's not, I can't fucking see anything. So you have to suspend disbelief to some degree just because us, the audience, likes to see things. But that was a tough one at times because they did go really, really dark. But I do think that's going to be the biggest deciding factor here is if people buy into these monsters, because there is a good amount of CG with them, and they are unique in a way that people will either find terrifying or very, very silly.
I didn't find any part of this silly or the monster design or anything to be humorous. I was like scared the whole time. I think the CG worked really well. I love the concept and the design of the monsters, and I'm really happy that we do get to see them because as much as I like building tension and being like, what is it? Like, especially with monster movies, and we've talked about this before, you want to showcase the monster. Like, you want to see what it is and what makes it unique. And I think that this film does a great job at delivering on that. On top of all of that, I think that the performances from everybody were really, really solid. I was super invested in the family dynamic, especially the relationship between the 2 brothers. There's like some drama that happens between them, and I was just like all in on it. I also think that the world building itself is like the perfect balance of like you kind of know what's like some things
ambiguity,
and things are left ambiguous, which gives the whole movie a really great feeling of mystery. It was just very satisfying. I like that we don't get everything answered, but we are immediately thrown into the world. I loved the way it looked. I loved how dark it was and how just it's very post-apocalyptic, but in a really dark and dreary way. And I loved that atmosphere.
As far as the keeping things ambiguous, they had a very smart moment within the film where we pretty much realize that they themselves don't know, and they play this game. And that's all I'll say on the matter, but I thought that was a really smart way of handling that material, and it definitely made me appreciate that aspect of things much more. There are definitely some choices made in here that I find questionable. There's something that happens with Nic Cage's character, especially towards the end, that made me kind of go, huh? Like, why? Most of it all happened in the last, 30 minutes of the movie. It did irk me a bit in moments, right? Those moments that I'm referring to just irked me. That all being said, I still had a great time with this film. This was kick-ass.
It was so cool. I really loved the movie, honestly. I think I'm probably higher on it than you are because I didn't have any issues with, the pacing or the story beats or anything. Everything flowed really well to me. Everything made sense to me, and I know the thing that you're talking about at the end that bothered you, and I kind of have an explanation for it, so nothing bothered me in the film. I think it's a really cool monster movie, and if you hadn't heard about it, it's a huge recommendation from me, and I know you had a great time with it. It's definitely worth a watch, and I could see it being in a top 10 kind of thing for me. That's how big I was on it. I really love the monsters in this.
Me too.
And I was really scared. I was really scared by them, and monster movies, to be totally honest, I usually am not afraid of monsters. I'm more oh, that's so cool, I want to see them, and it's a different feeling, but I was legitimately scared.
I think the reason this movie had the effect on you that it did as far as monsters go is because we haven't seen something this original as far as a monster goes in a long time. The first time we saw it, I was genuinely what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
Right? But it morphs and it changes throughout. It doesn't feel like it's just a one-trick pony.
Yeah.
There's always a moment where this thing is upping its game, where you're finding out something new about it and about them and how they coordinate and how they attack and how there's so many unique aspects to them that I was just wow, I was always intrigued and entertained and so invested in the creature department alone. The rest of the film honestly could have been shit, and I would still recommend it just for the monsters alone. Any issues I have with the film, I don't really care because I enjoyed what I enjoyed so much. So I don't know if you're that much higher on it than I am. I just had problems with it and you didn't, but my problems are minor gripes. There's nothing new as far as the concept goes, but it's the monsters that we're here for, and they're incredible. In a monster movie, you want to deliver on your monsters. If you watched It Comes at Night and you were bummed because nothing came at night, with this, oh my god, does it come, and it's terrifying.
It is terrifying.
I do want to also point out that the writer of this film is Nicolas Cage's agent and has made many films with Nic Cage over the years, and this time he wrote him a film. So that's interesting to me. But absolutely, if you are a monster fan, you need to go check this out in theaters. If you're a Nic Cage fan, monster movie fan, you want to see something unique, go support it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, let us know if you see it, and we'll see you in the comments. All right, guys.
Bye.